One dream, one image, one day of all days. In 1991, it happened to a horse called Generous because of a place called Watcombe.
So the result of this, the ever-ready derby, it's gone to number 4, Generous, in the colours of Fard Salman. This one trained at Watcombe by Paul.
Funny thing about Watcombe was I always just had a feeling in the back of my mind that one day I might go there. So the opportunity, when it arose, I was sort of semi-geared up to take it. But I did try and get out of Lambourne for 5 years because I was getting a bit big for Lambourne, and Lambourne was developing. And you know, I had this unique opportunity to get Watcombe, which at the time I thought was brilliant. But of course there was that sort of Dickinson thanks to muddle up, which disappointed me, and then he took Manton and I got Watcombe.
These Berkshire Downs were made to test the thoroughbred. Down the years, 4 Derby winners have been readied from the stable at Watcombe, most recently the Arthur Budget-trained half-brothers, Blakeney and Morstan, in 1969 and 73. On Budget's retirement, these famous gallops could just have been history, but the best days were yet to come.
Watcombe was Paul's idea to buy the place, and I was a bit reluctant, and then when we looked at it, we really wanted to have classics winners. I said to my lawyers, I said, whatever Paul wants, just do it.
From the mid-80s, Watcombe sent horses carrying the green silks of Fard Salman to racecourses not just over England, but all over the globe. In '87, Bint Pasha's season included the Prix Vermeil at Longchamp and the Yorkshire Oaks on the Knavesmire to confirm herself as one of the top fillies in Europe.
Bint Pasha lengthens his stride and goes on. Blessed Event can find no more. Well inside the last half furlong, Bint Pasha, Blessed Event. Bourbon Girl's going to be the 1, 2, 3, and up towards the line. Bint Pasha wins it. Bint Pasha, Blessed Event second.
In '88 in Ireland, Insand went desperately close to foiling Kayazi's Derby double. But it was in Ireland in 1990 that Knight's Baroness got the classic bandwagon rolling with her fine victory in the Irish Oaks.
Can we at all from Knight's Baroness? An assertion as they race into the closing stages. At all, Knight's Baroness on the far side as they race the line. Knight's Baroness getting up. Knight's Baroness has won it by about a neck.
Ireland too for Ibn Bey, the greatest globetrotter of all, who ended his 5-season career in Tokyo, but in 1990 almost followed up in the Breeders' Cup the good work he had done on the Curragh.
Mr. Pintips in the lead from Ibn Bey in second. Brasheed 3 lengths back behind these. In 4th place is Tyrone Bridge, and behind Tyrone Bridge, Fairquad. Mr. Pintips with Ibn Bey fighting back on the inside as they race towards the finish. Ibn Bey on the inside has it as they go to the line. Ibn Bey wins the Irish Ledger by about a length. Mr. Pintips.
I like to see my horses run. I don't want them in the boxes. Win or lose is really irrelevant for me. It would be nice to win, but if you don't lose, you'll never win.
But for every owner, there is one ultimate dream: Epsom Downs on the first Wednesday in June. For the Watcombe team, that would always be the target. Hello everyone, and it's a breezy, chilly welcome to what is still the most evocative race day of them all.
And there is another big hope for England. Zoman was only having the second run of his whole life when Linamix just beat him in the French 2000 Guineas. But if he does win today, he'll be following a tradition at Watcombe, where Paul Cole trained him. And it was from there that Arthur Budget sent Morstan to win the 1973 Derby in only his second race of his whole life. Zoman could easily just do it.
Zoman challenging for market honours is a 5-to-1 chance.
Paul Cole very rarely gets excited about anything, but I know that he thinks an awful lot of this horse, Zoman.
and they're beginning the descent to Tattenham Corner, and it's still treble 8 from the front, powering clear of Quest for Fame in the pink cap and Panettone. El Marmol behind these. Linamix gets no run. Rivergird starts to drop back. Zoman comes with a big run in the dark green jacket and passing the 3. It's Zoman, the horse with the white face. Quest for Fame in the pink cap. Next to the rails is treble 8. Karinga Bay coming with a big run. Blue Stack starts to unleash a run. Razine is beaten. They race down through the final quarter mile, and Quest for Fame in the pink cap and Panettone strike and go on. From treble 8 and El Marmol in blue. Zoman and then Blue Stack the battler with Karinga Bay on the wide outside. Inside the final furlong, and it's Quest for Fame and Panettone. He holds the aces and he's coming clear. But Blue Stack will get a place, so too El Marmol up towards the line. It's Quest for Fame, Panettone's third derby. Blue Stack is second, El Marmol third.
So the 1990 Derby mission could not be accomplished, but 3 weeks before that disappointing day at Epsom, the hero of 91 had already shown his paces. Generous had won at Ascot. An early dividend from the Baronstown stud-bred colt who had been bought 7 months earlier at Gough Sales in Ireland.
The first impression when he came out of the box was obviously his colour, which is a colour which a lot of people don't immediately associate with good horses. But very soon afterwards, as one looked at him, one could see that in fact he had tremendous presence, and he was a beautifully proportioned horse, and had superb conformation. And I think possibly that his colour was to our advantage. It enabled us to buy him. Had he been a strong dark bay, maybe he'd have made a lot more money, because his pedigree and his conformation and everything else about him, the way he used himself, was outstanding.
The colt they called Generous indeed had all the credentials. By the already successful Sir Carlion, out of Trillion's half-sister Doff the Derby, who had already produced the fast Vincent O'Brien 2-year-old Wedding Bouquet. And it was as a fast 2-year-old that Generous first made his mark.
He kept coming with us last year, and nothing was bothering him. He kept eating, and he kept showing a lot of speed and everything, so we quietly trained him, and we let him have a run at Ascot. He was under no pressure at all. He sat behind them, went by them, and that was it. Nice, easy race.
Fairly well. Inside the furlong, Generous hit the lead now. South Crofty can't go on. Grey Rooster called on for an effort. Les Animaux Noirs now starting to sprout wings. Generous in front from Grey Rooster. Les Animaux Noirs is flying, but not going to make it. Generous got there. Les Animaux Noirs second.
A 2-year-old victory in May, the horse could go, and so the Coventry Stakes at Royal Ascot was the ambition.
I thought he'd win the Coventry. That's the sort of feel he used to give you at home. So, a bit disappointed when he got beat. He ran a good race. He was always up in the firing line all the way.
But Maxim has the overall advantage now. From Tinkin's Wood, time for the Blues over on the far side. On the near side is Generous with Fital, and also not far behind them is Beloved Visitor. But Maxim just with the advantage now as they race past the halfway mark. It's Maxim from Tinkin's Wood on the far side, on the near side Generous, and then still time for the Blues holding his position over on the far side. Maxim though has a commanding lead now as they race well inside the final 2 furlongs. Alan Munro and Maxim is clear. Alan Munro and Maxim clear from Generous. Then Bold Nephew over on the far side, but Maxim surely has this sewn up 150 yards to run, and Maxim and Alan Munro going to win this clearly from Generous in second as they come to the line. Maxim is the winner, Generous is second, and Bold Nephew is third.
He was just an ordinary 2-year-old. Second in the Coventry. It was a good run, but I didn't think he was going to be like he was, to be quite honest with you.
Glorious Goodwood doesn't always get the sunshine its title deserves. It did in 1990, but it was too hot for some.
This is number 4, the deposed favourite, Generous. He's just getting a little bit on his toes. As you can see, he's giving Richard Quinn a few anxious moments there.
It was so hot and humid and sticky and no air, and he got sweaty and upset, and the flies and everything.
And Generous being pressed now by Andrath and Macadama. Willie Carson coming on the outside, and Macadama comes to take it up now. He quickens very impressively inside the final furlong. Macadama going away now from Flying Brave, who becomes the challenger as Generous fades. It's Macadama from Flying Brave. Macadama's going to win it to the line. It's another for Willie Carson. Macadama the winner, and Flying Brave is second and third.
That didn't work out at all, and I knew that wasn't his running. But in the back of my mind, he looks a precocious horse. I mean, he behaved like a precocious horse. I mean, no sore shins or nothing of that sort. So with his speed in the Coventry, we thought we'd try the morning. And we sent him over there, and he would have run a really good race if the stabling facilities had been better. But the racecourse stables were in the fair paddock. He obviously didn't sleep and didn't do and didn't drink and basically dehydrated and didn't fire.
So mid-August for Generous, and in 4 races he had been first, second, third, and now last. For many of us, it looked as if his future might already be behind him. On the face of it, the defeat in the morning seemed fairly comprehensive. But this was one of those cases when there really was something more than met the eye.
We didn't know it at the time, but, you know, underneath he thinks a little bit. So we then came back and thought, right, well, this isn't working out at all. We'll turn him out in the paddocks. We turned him out in the pen for 3 weeks, cleared his brain and started again.
Tapach it is on the rails, yet to be headed. Radari, I should say, is the challenger, still a length and a half back to Generous. Battler's Green drops out of contention as they come now towards the final furlong. And here Radari just gets his head in front of Tapach. Generous is still to make a challenge as they come to the final 150 yards. Here comes Generous on the outside to challenge Radari. Generous it is, nicely placed there. In the last 150 yards, Generous quite easily from Radari in second.
You couldn't weigh the Sandown form up at all because it wasn't a contest, but he won very nicely. And came back a different horse from there, all the confidence in the world afterwards. And we were just worried about how he behaved again.
The Dewhurst Stakes would be a real test. The Gimcrack winner Mujtahid was an odds-on favourite. Angie's, Sedair, Bog Trotter were backed. Generous was neglected at 50 to 1. Never again.
It's Bog Trotter leading by a length, and Mujtahid's going to have to stretch here if he's going to get back into the action. And then behind these comes Sedair, and Angie's is being ridden along in the blue, and they've got just over 2 to go, and it's old Bog Trotter out in front. Goes on from Stark south of the red jacket, Generous in the dark green, and behind these comes Mujtahid, who looks as if he's held. It's a realist, and Lester Piggott I don't think will be winning, but it's Bog Trotter with the lead as they come past the furlong pole. Generous is in pursuit in the dark green jacket. Mujtahid, the odds-on favourite, is beaten back in third, and it's Bog Trotter with Generous closing with every stride. Bog Trotter and Nigel Day, Generous and Richard Quinn. It's going to be close as they get to the line, and Generous gets there. Generous beats Bog Trotter with Leicester on Surrealist third.
Generous, 50 to 1 maybe, but no great surprise to Richard Quinn.
I was always travelling nicely, and you know what he did show us at Sandown in the week race that he's got a really good turning foot, and he's produced it to get there. Just he struggled a little bit to get to Bog Trotter today. Once he actually got in his quarters and passed him in a matter of 3 strides.
The Watcombe team may have carried Derby hopes for Generous through the winter, but recent racing history was against them. The last Epsom hero to have also been precocious enough to win as a 2-year-old in May had been Mill Reef 2 full decades earlier. Not many people besides Paul Cole realised that here was a colt to speak of in comparison.
I didn't want to get involved with too much Guineas hype, galloping him through the mud, putting him under pressure under bad weather and this, that and the other. So we took a sort of light-hearted view with the Guineas, really. So we'll get him ready if it comes, if it all comes, and won't force him at all, because during the winter, the more one sort of sits and thinks about these things, the more I thought, this is going to be a Derby horse.
Mystico sneaks through next to the rails whilst our eyes down the centre of the track, and they come down to the 2, and it's Mystico the rails, Bog Trotter in the centre of the track. Coming with the run is Mukadam, and Marju's pulled to the wide outside. Lysias with the run, difficult to see Marju winning from there. Furlong and a half to go, Mystico the rail, and he's stolen it, Mystico to home. Here comes Lysias with the noseband, and then Shalford in the light blue. Off the pace, Ganges starts to pick up, Marju is booked. They're inside the final furlong now, and it's Mystico and Lysias down the centre of the track, and it's Mystico the rail. Lysius with a noseband, and as they drive to the line, Lysius and Mystico and Lysius at the line. A photo, Mystico beats Lysius in a photo. A big gap to Ganges, Generous, Mukadama flying brave.
That run at Newmarket was promising enough, but it's at Newbury Racecourse that Paul Cole often likes to take his horses for a test. He did this with Generous several times during his career, and the pre-Derby gallop has gone into legend.
Governor just told me just to him behind him and don't bother to beat him, just see how you get on with him, how he can match stride with him. I was just canting all over him, all through the gallop. And that's when we realised that he was good.
Derby Day 1991 was one of drizzle and raincoats, but it was still, as always, the race everyone wants to win. And there was to be a change in Generous's saddle. Alan Munro had become the retained jockey for all the Salmon horses.
Mr. Cole let me ride him in a couple of bits of work, and to be honest with you, I mean, this doesn't say much for my knowledge really, but he didn't feel like it. He didn't feel anything special, you see. Now looking back on it, it's because he's switched off, and you know, riding around in an ordinary piece of work, he felt very ordinary.
Alan made an interesting remark when he rode him behind a horse. He said, Governor, he said, this horse is too switched off. I thought, well, we can all learn things from people. I said, listen, I've spent days and months getting this horse switched off. Don't complain about that. But if you settle him in behind, he'll switch off and he's okay. If you start moving him upsides and asking him to take any interest, he will. And it just fell into our plans that he got a real good gallop on. And I told Alan, when you jump out of the stalls, be positive.
At this point, Generous still had everything to prove. His first attempt at a 1.5 miles, his first race on a left-handed track. It was billed as an open derby, with the French horse Toulon, the Lingfield trial winner Corrupt, and the Guineas winner Mystico the favourites. Generous closed the book.
Marju is mid-division, Toulon is still last and first, and so too is Corrupt as they go through the first half mile. And it's Mystico, the Guineas winner, as they pass the mile post. Mystico leading with Arakat up on the outside, and showing third next to the rails is Hokusai in the white cap on the outside. Hector Protector, Environment Friend, the grey, is on the outside of the pack. Star Gadance, mid-division, Mujasif, Marju, the rail, Corrupt, put to sleep at the back, and they go to the top of the hill. And as they come past the halfway stage, it's Mystico blazing a trail. Arakat, the pacemaker for Toulon, can't keep with him. A gap of 2 lengths. Toulon's second last. They begin the descent and they go past the halfway stage, and Mystico the leader by a neck to Arakat, showing in second, and Generous third, and Hector Protector 4. And then behind these, Hokusai the rail 5. Marjum sneaks up on the inside 6. Hailsham gets closer, and then Star of Gdansk. And these are followed by Hunter and Mujasif, and Toulon and Corrupt still nearer last and first. As they come down past Tattenham Corner, and Leicester's trying to get a bit closer, and Hokusai, Environment Friend, gets reminders, and Toulon is still last as they begin the descent now and start the turn in. Marju is tailed off, and it's Mystico in front, but here comes Generous in the dark green jacket. Hokusai the rails making significant progress, and then Hector Protector, Hailsham with a run. Toulon on the wide outside of the pack. They've got 2 furlongs to go, and it's Generous now the leader, but Hector Protector on the outside comes with a run. They're inside the final quarter mile, and Generous commits and goes on from Hector Protector. A furlong and a half to go, and it's Generous in the lead from Marju, who's powering through, coming through to second place. They've got a furlong to go in the Ever Ready Derby, and it's Generous and young Alan Munro, and only his second Derby ride clear from Marju in second, and then they race up towards the line. Generous takes it. Generous is the winner from Marju. Second, Star of Gdansk comes through to be third. A photo 4 between.
When I took the lead in the Derby, remember, I didn't know the horse then at the time. Mystico fell away and the pacemaker. I went around there and took the lead, and this was running by the 2. I asked him to quicken, because I think it was Hector Protector at the time came into the picture. I asked him to quicken, and he just he nearly left me behind. Really, for me in the Derby, that was an incredible feeling, because looking up at that furlong pole, or the winning pole, 2 furlongs away, just having that sort of acceleration, happen, knowing that really it would take an unbelievable horse to pick me up, and therefore, so that last 2 furlongs, I knew I'd won the Derby, which is a dream in itself.
The winning distance was 5 lengths and 7 lengths between second and third, so a lot of daylight off quite a strong pace.
I was watching the race from my box, and I was just standing still. I wouldn't move, and suddenly he went clear, and everyone said, he's going to win it, he's won it. I said, no, not yet, wait until he passes the line. And I just stood still. apparently everyone was shouting and screaming. I swear I couldn't hear a thing. I still don't remember it. Don't remember them screaming or shouting, but apparently they were. Until the horse passed the winning line, then everyone was hugging everyone, and it's a big event.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a different world, aren't you, for a few hours, aren't you? I mean, the Derby is the ultimate, isn't it? You can win whatever you like, as far as I'm concerned, but the Derby is the... Doesn't matter about your arcs and all these races, the Derby is the only one, I think.
Watcombe had a Derby winner again. It was a moment to treasure. It takes many hands and many days to make a Derby winner.
I am really overwhelmed by winning the Derby, and I'm really grateful to God and everyone, you know, connected with the horse.
Generous, the winner at Epsom, but there had been another Derby, 300 miles to the south, just 3 days before. The sun had shone, and the winner had looked every bit his rival.
Suave Dancer goes 2 lengths in front in a stride. Cudis is next, followed then by Subotica, Lucia Reverti, but it's all Suave Dancer in the Jockey Club. He's about 4 or 5 lengths in front and racing away for a most impressive win.
They were to meet in the Irish Derby, the ultimate head-to-head of the whole flat racing season, with the unbeaten O'Brien Piggott Challenger Sports World in there along with the pacemakers to add extra spice. To avoid any repetition of the previous year's sleepless night disaster at Deauville, Generous was flown over the morning of the race. Travelling head lad Richard Warden was already in Ireland with the Pretty Polly winner Ruby Tiger. He had an anxious wait.
They had the slight problem with the fog at Southampton. If they flew on a TNT plane, and if the Irish hadn't been an Irish pilot, and he was making his 3rd attempt, and he said if it wasn't any good this time, it wasn't going. If it had been an English pilot, I think he'd have given up. And that's, he only got in on his 3rd attempt, and that's how they got out. He only got to Ireland really by the skin of his teeth. I remember going to see the horse at the Curragh and seeing him in his box, and you could tell by looking at him that he'd really enjoyed his trip, and he was in great form.
There were only 6 runners, and it turned out the pacemakers were there to slow it down. Quite soon, Alan Munro had a problem.
I think it was a furlong and a half, and he just wasn't relaxing. And well, you can't go a mile and a half in that ground, on that track, fighting each other, you know. So when he took the lead, invariably they do, you know, when you give a horse a, you know, let them look around, they relax, which he did, you know. So then he just bowled along in his own happy manner. And sure enough, when Suave came to him, I thought it was over actually. He came to me and I saw him loom up, you know, and then I asked him, and what a response.
Colours, yellow sash, then Star of Gdansk on the inside, and Suave Dancer and Walter Swinburne bringing up the rear as they run on now towards the top of the hill. They're approaching the halfway stage, and Generous has a lead of over 2 lengths. In second place, Nordigat Mara, with Barry's Run, the rank outsider, still in touch on the inside. Sports World just behind him, then Star of Gdansk, and at the back, Suave Dancer beginning to improve now. At the 5 furlong pole, Generous the leader. Sports World makes a forward move and closes in second. Just behind these, Nordigat Mara, making ground, Suave Dancer on the outside. Barry's Run drops away. They come towards the half-mile pole, and we're poised for a thriller here with Generous in the lead, followed by Sports World for Ireland in second. Suave Dancer, the French Challenger 3, and Star of Gdansk just behind them. They're clear of the others as they swing into the straight. in the Budweiser Irish Derby, and Generous and Alan Munro in the lead. Sports World, Lester Piggott second. Here comes Suave Dancer on the outside. Christy Roach hard at work on Star of Gdansk. Over 2 furlongs to race, and Generous has asked for his effort. Here comes Suave Dancer on the outside. Sports World is finding little. Then Star of Gdansk, they're inside the 2, and it's Generous going for home, chased by Suave Dancer. A furlong and a half to race. Generous, Suave Dancer coming on the near side. Back in third is Star of Gdansk. They hit the furlong pole. Generous the far side, Suave Dancer the near side. Generous 5-3 parks. Suave Dancer in second. Racing in the last 100 yards, and Generous is the leader. He's fought off the French challenger and racing up the line. Generous going away at the finish. Wins it well under Alan Munro by 2.5 lengths. Suave Dancer is second, and they're clear of Star of Gdansk.
Later in the year, people were to give different votes to Suave Dancer. But on this day in midsummer, there were no doubts about respective merits.
Yeah, he was a much better horse at that particular time of the year. He was a much better horse. I mean, they're both fresh from their respective races, and you know, there was no excuses for either of them, really. They both had a good chance, and Generous beat him fair and square.
He ran a super race, finished second, no excuses. I think Generous was the best horse on the day. I think he's a very good Derby winner. He's probably the best Derby winner there's been for a few years. Yeah.
Generous was now firmly established and was unquestionably the best 3-year-old. But could he beat the older horses? The King George at Ascot was the place to find out.
Tribute to Paul Cole, his trainer, because he's had a pretty hard campaign. He's had those 3 classics to go through, and well, for me, he looks as good as he ever did this season.
But he is sweating on his neck and beneath the saddle.
But if you'd seen him 2 hours before, you'd have had a fit. It was just coming off him like water. He wasn't walking around his box or worrying. He was just standing there, and it was just running down him like water. So we washed him down. I said, there's no point in washing down in hot water. It might make him worse. So we washed him down in cold. Just put him straight back in his box. He stood there, and he stood there all the time until we brought him up.
And a tremendous gallop. They're just racing up to the milepost already, and still Hailsham blazing the trail from Saddler's Hall in second and third. Lucia Reverdi fourth is Generous. Behind Generous comes Tiger Flower, then Rockhopper, then Terriman, and then Sapience, and Sanglamore still last, and it's still Hailsham the leader by about 4 to 5 lengths now from Saddler's Hall as they pass the 7 furlong marker, and behind Saddler's Hall comes Lucia Reverti, and then Generous travelling well in 4th place. Behind him comes Rockhopper and Tiger Flower, and then Terriman. Behind Terriman is Sapience. Behind Sapience is Sanglamore. They're racing towards the 5 pole, and it's still Hailsham in the lead from Saddler's Hall, going well in second. Then comes Lucia Reverti, then Generous going smoothly on the outside. Tiger Flowers improving on the inner. Then comes Rockhopper, then Terriman, then Sapience, and then Sanglamore. And Lester Piggott has taken over now on Saddler's Hall as they've got 3.5 furlongs to run. Saddler's Hall is the leader from Lucia Reverti, with Generous moving into 3rd place, then Tiger Flower. Rockhopper making ground towards the outside. Sanglamore's moving into a challenging position. Just in behind them comes Sapience and Terriman. As they turn into the home stretch, it's Lester Piggott on Saddler's Hall in the lead from the favourite Generous. Generous coming to tackle Saddler's Hall. The 3-year-old takes it up now, and it's the 3-year-old Generous who stormed into the lead from Saddler's Hall. Rockhopper and Sanglamore throwing down a challenge now towards the near side, but Generous has the clear advantage as they come down to the furlong pole. Generous from Sanglamore in second, then comes Rockhopper as they race up towards the line. Generous is going to win the King George the 6th and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes in terrific style. He races towards the line, 5-6 lengths clear. Generous has won it, being eased up. Sanglamore is second, Rockhopper is third. Fourth is Terriman.
It was a performance you would be lucky to see once in a lifetime. It made your hair stand up with the brilliance. No horse has ever won the King George so far. None may ever do so again.
They went so fast, it was incredible. And, you know, he's got such a high cruising speed, Generous. He goes around there and, like any other horse, is top gear, and you're just out travelling. And, you know, when you do take the lead off a pace like that, you never in the world expect to quicken, you know. And, you know, when you do, you know, all you can do is hope to stay on. You know, when you do get down and change your hands and, you know, say, come on, son, you know, he really exhilarates you when he takes off. You know, it's an incredible feeling because it shouldn't happen.
Up in the radio commentary box was a man more used to saddling good horses than broadcasting about them.
The King George this year was an amazing race, and Generous definitely made it an amazing race. More often than not, you see horses sort of coming with a run. They put daylight between themselves and the others, and then they're getting tired. But he wasn't. He kept galloping right away to the line and increasing his lead. I thought it was a devastating performance, probably the best performance we've seen in the King George for and probably the best performance we're likely to see for a number of years.
Generous was the superstar of the summer. He had carried all before him, but the plan was to stretch his form to the Arc in October, and so first he took a well-earned break.
I think it's very difficult to get a 3-year-old through to the Arc in 100% condition. So right from the start we made a plan to try and get him there 100%, and so far it's going very well and we're very pleased with him, but obviously we won't know till after the race.
We're really pleased with his travelling. He's settled on the box to the airport. That's the 3rd time he's been on a plane now, so he's happy about the plane and he's travelled superb.
I'm very excited about the race. I mean, one must feel fortunate to have a runner in the Arc, let alone having the favourite. So, as I said before, may the best horse wins tomorrow. And as far as Generous is concerned, I think he's done me proud and done enough for me.
The only thing I did notice, which I said to Robert in the fray, was he wasn't sweating like he normally does. And when we both led him up in the English and Irish in the King George, he used to get hold of the bit when he went out in the course, where at Longshot the bit was sort of loose in his mouth. And that's the first thing I noticed, but he wasn't sweating like he normally does, either down his left shoulder or his right shoulder. I said to Robert, then I hope this is not a bad sign.
Coming towards the turn now, 500 out in the Arc, and the leader is now out Bleu, tackled by the stablemate Pistolet Bleu on the inside. Out wider then is Quest for Fame from Generous. Further back then is Shamshir, out very wide. Suave Dancer unleashing a run now from in the groove. Inside the 400, Generous is gone, dropping back.
We had a lovely position, just turning for home. He was going as well as he ever has been, and he just ran out of gas. You know? I let go of him and he went from being a strong lion to as weak as a kitten.
At first, there was no explanation.
Couldn't work out what was the matter with him. I rode him out after the race. He felt fine, settled, looked a picture, never left a note. He ate up everything. And then Alan Munro came and rode him in a gallop because we were thinking about running him in the Champion Stakes. So Alan come and had a ride on him, and I rode Snurge in the gallop with him, and we had a lead horse, and Alan won the gallop by about a length, but he wasn't quite sure whether the horse was just idling with him or he'd gone a bit. So that was another stumbling block, so we weren't quite happy with the governor and the owner. Mr. Salmon didn't know whether to do it, so he had one final gallop and I rode him myself. He didn't fire the morning I rode him. He won the gallop all right, but made it hard work. It wasn't the same horse. But then we realised he'd gone. He'd had enough.
The most significant thing after the Arc was the way he worked, to me. And the blood was only a guide, and it wasn't absolutely right, but it was improving fairly quickly. But the way his work was a greater indicator. We sometimes think these horses get what's called adrenal exhaustion, that they can't produce any more adrenaline. They've been up and on for such a long time that they can't produce the adrenaline, so they go into a race. And I felt he looked very laid back during his race. And then when you ask them to turn the throttle on, they need the adrenaline surge to do that. And whether the adrenal glands exhausted by the end of a long season, and maybe that's why they don't actually pick up.
Whatever the arguments, whatever the reasons, they don't matter now. Better to remember the many moments which Generous gave, which no one will forget.
It was just the gear he had. That was the most important thing he had. He just scooped past everything. It was effortless to him. You know.
On his day, when you watched him, he was the most magnificent athlete to see, and everything was so easy. And when he turned on the adrenaline, normally, nothing could even stand in his shadow. So we always remember that as much as anything else. And I suppose he had more adrenaline to lose than everybody else.
Well, he floats. I mean, he really floats. I mean, he's the most beautiful mover, and he's so beautifully made. And he's got tremendous nervous energy. He's really the perfect horse, and he never had any structural problems, and which is unbelievable if you're a racehorse trainer to have a horse that hasn't got any structural problems. I mean, no knees, no sore shins. I mean, it's incredible.
And so it's by his sons that we shall judge him. Generous made the eastward trip to Banstead Manor Stud late in November of 91, and will therefore take a full book of mares in 92, foals in 93, and classic candidates in the summer of 95. Looking ahead has always been one of racing's greatest attractions. When you've got what Generous has done behind you, you have proof that just occasionally a dream can be fulfilled.
You're really supposed to dream of winning the Derby. You're not supposed to win it, but it happened.
They begin the descent and they go past the halfway stage, and Mystico the leader by a neck to Arakat showing in second and Generous third and Hector Protector fourth. There is Mystico in front, but here comes Generous in the dark green jacket. 2 furlongs to go, and it's Generous now the leader, but Hector Protector on the outside comes with a run. 1.5 furlongs to go, and it's Generous in the lead from Marju, who's powering through, coming through to second place. They've got 1 furlong to go in the Eveready Derby, and it's Generous and young Alan Munro, and only his second Derby right clear. And the Lily race up towards the line. Generous takes it. Generous is the winner.
Generous may only come once in a lifetime, but for Fard Salmon and Paul Cole there was a lot else in 91. Generous so eclipsed the 3-year-olds, it's easy to forget that victory in the Lingfield Oaks trial for O'Shera put her in as a classic possible. It was the first week of Alan Munro's appointment as retained jockey. It was an auspicious start.
O'Shera now just takes it up now, but being challenged at once by Gay Bulger. Gay Bulger coming to challenge O'Shera. Gay Bulger on the near side, O'Shera on the far side. O'Shera is quickening, Gay Bulger on the near side. O'Shera is going to win it. O'Shera's won it under Alan Munro. What a fantastic start for him. Second is Gay Bulger and third is Subtle Chain.
Zoman is a horse who's got used to travel, and in 91 he showed again that away days were no disadvantage. 2 victories here, the Scottish Classic Stakes at Ayr, and first the Tattersall's Rogers Gold Cup in Ireland on the Curragh in May.
In the lead now, Zoman, the favourite from Topanura in second. Spending Record's gone 3. Then Victoria's Steed. Panoramic trying to make ground on the outside, but it's Zoman out in front from Topanura in second. A gap then to Spending Record, and then comes Victoria's Steed, but down to the final furlong now. And it's Zoman on the far side from Topanura. A gap then of 3 lengths to Panoramic, but Zoman has the lead inside the last half furlong now, and Zoman the favourite, increasing his advantage and going on to win this well under Alan Munro. Zoman wins it. Topanura second. 3 is Panoramic.
They go past the 2, and Zoman ups the tempo again. 2 lengths ahead of Hailsham, is sticking on well. Corrupt is back in third, then Coringa Bay and Star Streak. Going into the final furlong, it's Zoman down in front, but Corrupt is thundering home down the centre of the track. But Zoman's got a 2-3 length advantage and has made all the running so far, and he's going to make all the running to the post as well. Zoman wins it well under Alan Munro. In second is Corrupt. Next is Hailsham and Coringa Bay.
Always Friendly won by 5 lengths first time out and was never out of the first 4 in 6 races. She ended the year running third to Further Flight in the St Simon Stakes. Before that had been impressive in the Princess Royal at Ascot in October.
Third watch, and Always Friendly puts in a very good run now towards the near side, and Alan Munro comes to take it up now, and Always Friendly coming down to the furlong pole, and Always Friendly has the advantage from Finance Dancer, the challenger. Peplum over on the far side. Always Friendly from Finance Dancer and Peplum. Always Friendly by a length from Finance Dancer and Peplum inside the final 50 yards, and Always Friendly's going to win this as they come to the line. Always Friendly is the winner of the Princess Royal. Second is Finance Dancer, third Peplum, 4, third Watch the Long Time.
Yes, a fine year for Always Friendly, but the real bonus of the 91 season, besides Generous, came with the 2-year-olds, and especially came at Royal Ascot. To win 1 2-year-old race at a Royal Meeting is good, to win 2 is excellent, but to win 3 is bordering on monopoly. First up was Dillon. He already looked impressive at Goodwood, and if Generous had run second in the Coventry Stakes the year before, Dillon put things right with a vengeance.
It's Dillon now, the clear leader under Alan Munro from Computer Kid, Dr. Devious. Showbrook's putting it around towards the stand side, but Dillon is holding him very cosily at the moment as they race inside the final furlong, and Dillon looks like winning the Coventry as Dr. Devious chases him, but vainly. Dillon is really stretching well and going to win this very comfortably indeed. Dillon is the winner from Dr. Devious and Castor Dool as they come to the line. Dillon, Dr. Devious and Castor Dool's the 1, 2, 3.
Magic Ring was in the Norfolk Stakes 2 days later. He'd been first past the post in both his races, although demoted by the stewards at Goodwood. 6 of his 8 rivals had won last time out. In against Magic Ring, you need to get used to the taste of defeat, especially if he's going to smash the track record in the process.
Harris House from Tamim, but the favourite putting in a tremendous run now. Magic Ring over on the far side. Harris House is drifting a little off a true line, and Magic Ring has just taken it up now as they race towards the line. Storm Melody is putting in a good run too, but as they come to the line, Magic Ring has this sewn up. Magic Ring is going to win it as they come to the line. Magic Ring is the winner. Harris House is second. It's very close for third.
Fair Cop was just 2 races after Magic Ring, and by now the punters were well prepared. Fair Cop had won at Goodwood and Catterick and upgraded in style.
2 furlongs out, Bradorn Brever with Fair Cop moving up to challenge, and Fair Cop comes through to take it up on the near side from Bradorn Brever, then Governor Zim. They're clear of Cradle Days, but Fair Cop comes into the last furlong. It looks like a third winner of the meeting for Alan Munro. Fair Cop is drawing away, could be close for second, Bradorn Brever and Governor Zim, and these are a long way clear of Magnum Star. They're running up towards the line. Fair Cop is the easy winner. Governor Zim runs on to be second. Bradorn Brever is third.
Fair Cop, yeah, I like him actually. You know, he went wrong actually after that, but it took us a long time to show it really, and he's wrong behind. But he's a really nice horse as well, and really I guess he shouldn't have been a 2-year-old. I think next year would be his year.
The Heath meeting at Ascot on the Saturday may decree a different set of clothing for the racegoers, but in the Halifax Stakes it was once again the green silks of Fard Salman that triumphed in the shape of Paradise Way.
Levelling up for the final quarter now with Rose of Era, the leader still, Rose of Era from Paradise Way taking second. Valemont now being sent about her business on the outside of those 2. Then comes the outsider Beyond the Moon, and El Rebab has dropped away very quickly indeed. Into the final furlong, and Valemont is finishing best of all. Valemont and Paradise Way together. They've gone on from Rose of Era. Paradise Way fighting back. It's going to be close, but it's just Paradise Way who gets off the mark from Valemont.
Solar Star wasn't able to run after finding problems in July, but started her season in excellent style, winning at Kempton first time out, and then bravely beating the favourite Coffee Ice in June.
Stage, but Solar Star has got a length on her as they come down past the 2, and it's Solar Star stretching in now. Coffee Ice and Pat Edery asking her to go on, and she's getting a bit closer to Solar Star, and the whips up on Solar Star, and Coffee Ice is travelling well on the outside. They come inside the final furlong, and they're both battling bravely, and it's Coffee Ice in the red and Solar Star in the dark green. And as they race up towards the line, Solar Star finds reserves, and Solar Star takes it at the line. Solar Star beats Coffee Ice, and they're 6 clear of Balfour, who's 4 clear of Durham Ruin.
Providence won just 1 of his 5 races, but his victory emphasised his stable strength in depth, the very first race of the July meeting at Newmarket.
And then twist and turn with the white sleeves, Providence in the dark green, on the outside, Colorific now ridden for all his worth, and doesn't find it off. They come inside the final furlong, and it's Providence and Alan Munro who go on now. Well inside the last half furlong, and Providence is stretching, going too clear, but next to the rail, Sky Hunter is picking up very well indeed. As they race up towards the line, it's going to be Providence from Sky Hunter. Providence beats Sky Hunter, twist and turn is third.
Changing Times has now gone to America for a change of scene, but in mid-season 91 he was a racehorse of promise, winning at Goodwood and then following up against 4 other winners at York.
And it's Sense of Priority and Gold Desert pressing each other in the centre of the track, and then just behind these, Changing Time starts to pick up. Under the whip now, Fair Crack, also under the whip, but still not out of it completely, Greekland Folly on the rail. They come inside the final quarter mile, and Gold Desert just being chased along, going on. But here comes Changing Times with a strong run down the centre of the track, and as they race up towards the line, Changing Times going on. Changing Times from Gold Desert, Changing Times takes it by a length, and increasing his lead as the line comes. Changing Times the winner from Gold Desert.
Jape made some unwanted headlines by getting beaten when even money favourite at Bath, but he repaid things with a fine victory in Italy at the close, confirming the promise he'd shown first time out at Newbury in July.
And they're just coming down to the 2 furlong pole. Spanish Storm in the centre. And here comes Arctic Tracker on the near side. Arctic Tracker coming to tackle Spanish Storm, does so in 3 strides and hits the front. As they race towards the furlong pole, Arctic Tracker already clear of the field. Spanish Storm in second. Over on the far side, Bob Zoud, Jape hanging on to his place, but handwritten, and Arctic Tracker strides to the line. Jape runs up to be second, but Arctic Tracker wins on the bit. Jake is second.
Well, Jake, I don't know what happened to Jake at Bath, but I was sitting there in the Tattersall's at Newmarket, and we're shoveling the money on there, waiting just to pick it up, and he came out of the fog and ran very badly, but he made up for that in Italy. But he's not, he's more of a Group 3 horse, I think.
At Goodwood, Dillon was still very much the hottest horse around. In the Richmond Stakes, he made his long odds-on look justified. Whatever happened afterwards, this was a cracking colt in midsummer.
As Dillon is cruising with about a neck advantage now over Showbrook. Diamond Mine on the far side. Silvio Alfredo can't get to them. Showbrook being shaken up, but finding Dillon too strong for him as they hit the furlong pole, and Dillon goes away now from Showbrook and Diamond Mine into the closing stages, and Dillon it is, very clearly. The smooth winner from Showbrook second, Diamond Mine is third.
Things seemed set fair, but as so often in racing, trouble was just around the corner.
I got struck with a virus, and Dillon got hit with it as well. And it was a virus that didn't flatten them, but it just took the edge off them. And when we went to Newbury, the vet said, he's 98%. But I thought it was a Group 2 and a bad race. We'd just try and get that one in, you know, before we put him away. But it took the edge off him, and there's a very good chance that the horse will come back again. I mean, it's a well-documented virus we had, and it wasn't anything spectacular, but it just took the bite off big, immature 2-year-olds, and I'm hoping he'll come back.
Profusion only ran twice, disappointing second time out, but had shown enough promise to be favourite on his first appearance at Newmarket in August. 13 opponents soon found out why.
From home, Profusion on the stand side with Clifton Charlie right on the stands rails. Australart and Abel Quest over on the far side of the track, and these 4 clear now of Bashufek in 5, and Big Wheel Charlie making late headway as they race now into the final furlong, and it's Profusion who's taken it up from Abel Quest. Big Wheel Charlie finishes best of the others on the far side. He's gone third, Australart 4. Inside the final furlong, and Profusion now sweeps clear. 150 yards to go. Profusion goes clear. It'll be close for second between Abel Quest, who just gets passed before the line by Big Wheel Charlie.
Up Anchor ended a 3-race first season with the right thoughts to take into the winter. A decisive win over a mile at Nottingham.
Up Anchor is the new leader, leads by a length or so from Referral under strong pressure, and then Lady St Lawrence under pressure is now only third. Crystal Cross is next, and behind those Capahouche, Tarub in the wide face is coming, but more to do yet, and they've got a furlong to go. Up Anchor by 2 or 3 now from Referral, then Crystal Cross, and then Tarub switched down the centre, but the post I fancy will come too soon. That one's starting to really pick up, but Up Anchor has flown, and as they come to the line, it's Up Anchor from Tarub, and then Crystal Cross and Referral very close between those two for third and fourth.
National Emblem only ran once in '91, and that wasn't until the end of October. He was the least experienced horse in the field, and even if that was a disadvantage, there was plenty to like about the way he overcame it.
2.5 furlongs out, and in the centre, Kajani, Natural Exchange. Here comes More Sun on the outside. Ella Fitzetti hanging on the far side. They're followed by National Emblem and Last Conquest with a furlong and a half to race. And it's Natural Exchange just showing in front. Kajani, though, keeping on well on the far side. More Sun trying to get there on the stand side at the distance. This could be close again. And More Sun's coming there. So is National Emblem getting to them. But it's Kajani, Natural Exchange, then More Sun. And here comes National Emblem flying through on the outside. And as they go into the closing stages, this will be close. It'll be a 1-2 for Paul Cole, with National Emblem might have just got up to pip Kajani, but very close, followed by Natural Exchange.
National Emblem may yet graduate to the highest class. Magic Ring was already in it. Despite being unable to run since Royal Ascot, he'd again shown such blinding speed on the home gallops that there was no windmill tilting in running him against his elders in the Prix de l'Abbé at Longchamp. These were the best sprinters in Europe, and although still a juvenile, Magic Ring could clearly hold his own.
They've got a furlong and a half to go, and Sheikh Al-Badou now takes the front, but here on the outside comes Keen Hunter with a big run in the white sleeve jacket, and Keen Hunter now takes it up. Paris House folds, Magic Ring unleashes the run, and they're inside the final furlong now, and it's Keen Hunter to home, clear by 2, Sheikh Al-Badou, and Magic Ring and flowing, and Archway picks up and finishes like a bullet, but at the line, Keen Hunter wins it from Sheikh Al-Badou and Magic Ring and Archway.
He's very, very good, Magic Ring, and his performance, I mean, you can't give a horse too much credit that's only finished third, but for an inexperienced 2-year-old against those old campaigners to be drawn way out where he was, was it 14 or 15 or something like that, and to run a little bit inexperienced, a little bit rusty, to get as close to Sheikh Al-Badou as that is, it's an amazing performance. What he'll do next year remains to be seen, but he's such a lovely charactered horse, he's like a bullock, and he enjoys life and he's doing really, really well.
The Abbey was a run of real merit, but Magic Ring wasn't going to close the season with a defeat, however honourable. 6 days later, he turned out for the Cornwallis Stakes at Ascot. This time, he was even sharper.
Coming up to the 2 now, and Tino Tear coming back to them. Mama's 2 ranging up throughout the challenge. He hasn't moved on Magic Ring. Now pops the question. Then follows Pool Esther, further back Power Lake. Coming up to the furlong now, he says, go on Magic Ring. Moves up to tackle Mama's 2. Magic Ring now forges into the lead from Mama's 2. Further back Power Lake. Harvest Girls run on from a long way back. But Magic Ring has simply outclassed them. Magic Ring goes on to win the Cornwallis pretty handily. From in second placing Harvest Girl, third Power Lake and Mama's 2.
Just how far Magic Ring might stay as a 3-year-old is open to question. But for Great Palm, distance looks certain to be an advantage. His great long stride will always need time to find its rhythm, but when it does, anything's possible. First time out was the 6 furlongs of the Moorstyle Convivial Stakes at York. The Dick Hearn trained Wessarm was odds-on favourite, but once Great Palm got himself stretched, there was only going to be one result.
Great Palm is making great strides on the right, and all of a sudden Wessarm is going to have to work because Great Palm is trying to lengthen, but just over a furlong to go. It's Great Palm on the right and Wessarm on the left, and it's Great Palm who's really stretching. If this horse wins by a length, you're never in doubt, and it's Great Palm clear now by 2 as he goes up towards the line. Great Palm takes it, Wessarm is second, and it's a close call for third between Parfait d'Amour and Haddad.
By the look of him, Great Palm should not be at his full potential until he's mature as a 3-year-old. But in his only other run as a juvenile, he was in at the very top. The Dewhurst Stakes at Newmarket, Dr. Devious the favourite, and previous winners Thorios, Pursuit of Love, Zahi, Young Seigneur and Strong Suit as challengers. Great Palm again took time to find his stride, but once found, he was a threat to everything.
As they come down, 2.5 to race, and Thorios going on. Thorios, Dr. Devious, Great Palm, and with a run on the outside, Pursuit of Love. Zahi in behind them, getting nowhere. Young Seigneur on the far side, galvanised for action. Only 1 of 6 could win as they race down into the dip. Dr. Devious, that terrier is battling on. Great Palm, the grey, Thorios between those 2. Then comes Pursuit of Love. They're inside the final furlong, and Dr. Devious finds a reserve. He's going on by a length to Great Palm in second, and Dr. Devious comes clear at the line. Dr. Devious, the winner, Great Palm second, Thorios third.
If you study the tape very, very carefully, he really only raced for the last 40 or 50 yards. He was in a bit of a muddle up to then. Whereas if he'd have run along the rail down the bottom, I think he'd have run a little bit better. But he really only got his act together the last few yards, and that was the horse I was hoping to see during the race, but it didn't work like that. But he should be much, much better next year.
So there's quite a classic hand to play in '92. But continuity must always be the aim. Sons of Generous will be on hand by '94, and before then, his half-brother will be around to do the honours. By the 2,000 guineas winner Lomond, out of Generous's Damned Off the Derby, this poised and sturdy colt always had the looks and the pedigree. Now he also has the name. He's called the King. May he also reign.